Okay, so I am so excited to teach you this bunny. So we are about to have some fun, but first I'm just putting some tracer paper down, and I recommend having the bunnies already drawn for your guest before you start painting it. So I went ahead and printed this. We have the tracer already, so you can go ahead and just print it out and then trace it just like I'm doing, just so it's ready for your guest. And then we'll start painting. So go ahead and print out your tracer and then get it ready, and then you can paint along with me. All right, now we have it traced. I'm going to go ahead and grab a Sharpie so I can make sure I don't lose the eyes. Now you can always do this too, where you trace the whole thing out if you want in Sharpie, but I'm just going to go ahead and do the eyes for now, and then we're going to start our painting right after. Okay, so you can pick any colors you want for this bunny. You could experiment, maybe do some like more muted colors if you want. I'm going to start with a navy blue for the background. So I'm just going to paint around it. So this is how you'll teach your paint party to actually start with going around the bunny. And since this is a simple design, you can just kind of go right around the bunny without too much fuss, okay? So we're just going to take this blue, navy blue, or if you want to do a more muted color palette, you could go with a lighter, more maybe like blush tones, however you want. It doesn't matter. But go ahead and get the background totally painted all around the bunny. All right, so once we have that painted, while you have your brush wet, go ahead and tell your guests to paint the sides. So while you already have your brush with all the blue on it, go ahead and just paint the sides. And this navy blue is really pretty. And this is also a painting that could be modified for kids or adults. It's specifically made for like a ladies event, but if you're doing, an Easter party or something fun like that, you could easily turn this into a kids party as well. So, and then this canvas size is a little bit smaller than a 16 by 20. You can make the tracer for any size you want by going to blockposters.com, and you can actually, download the tracer we have for you and make it for any size. But we'll make sure to have the 16 by 20, and then we'll also have this size, which is, after you get that, go ahead and rinse your brush. Let me get the size for you. This is a 12 by 16. And they sell them in 6-packs, but it's a 12 by 16 inch canvas. And so it just fits the bunny really well. Okay, so now what we want to do is just grab some really, again, this is where you can make your own like muted tones if you want. I'm going to use, it's a citron green. It's a really, really bright green. And I'm going to use this citron green and just kind of get some with that same, you can use that same brush. Or if you're like me and I really love a good chip brush, I love using a chip brush. So just kind of dab it, then dab most of it off, and you can just kind of bring in some lines here. You could even use a palette knife at this point if you wanted to make it a little bit of a different look. You could do a palette knife. Just kind of dash it on there. Okay, nothing major. All right, so go ahead and just dab that brush off. Now what we're going to do is use kind of like a taupe color. It could be a taupe, or I'm actually going to use a camel. It's called camel. But as long as it's some kind of taupe color, make sure it's shook up really, really good. And then a little bit of white, and we're just going to put some shading on this bunny. Okay, so get your taupe, or it could be like a cocoa, or just anything that has a little bit of a shade to it. And then you can grab it along with your white and just kind of mix it a little bit. And what we want to do is just start to get some shading on our bunny. Okay, so just little hints here and there on the bunny. Now, if we got too much shading, because we don't want it that dark, we're gonna take it and go back to the white and just go right on top of it a little bit. And you can just basically copy exactly where I'm shading. I'm going to switch to a little bit of a smaller brush and just kind of get right in here. Just to have that shading. All right, so go ahead and rinse your brushes. Now we're going to add in the purple flower. So what I'm going to use is a purple pizzazz, and just get some right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and go with a smaller brush to start with, kind of get my placement. So I'm going to be using kind of a round 8, size 8. And basically about where his eye is, I'm going to put me a little circle there so I can see where the placement of the flower is. Now from this, all I'm going to do is just start grabbing and just pulling some petals. Now we're doing a very, very simple petal. I'm going to actually hit this with the blow dryer real quick so that for the heat gun, I'm going to hit it with the heat gun real quick so I'm going on dry paint, which at your paint party, it won't matter because people will already have dry paint. All right, so like I said, you won't have that problem at a paint party because they're going to be painting slower than you and I would paint. So you just grab it, have them grab it with a circle, and just start to put these big old floppy flowers on here. So I'm just grabbing it and going around. You can make it as oversized, as whimsical as you want. Okay, so just kind of have them in there. And now I'm going to take a little bit of white paint, or you can go with a lighter color. Here's a frosted plum, or you could just mix a little bit of white, however you feel like you want to do that. And then now what you're going to do is just go in and add to it. I'm actually going to add just white. I don't like the frosted plum. X on the frosted plum. I'm going to take that one out. I need to buy some more white paint. All right, so I'm just going to take the same brush and just get some white with it. And then just start adding that white. into that flower, but I'm not going all the way. I'm just kind of going almost halfway into the flower. All right, and then we can add a few little flowers over here, just a few petals. We're going to go back to that purple, just a petal here, and maybe just a little petal, a couple petals coming out right here. All I did was just took my brush and just, that's it. I'm going to rinse it, grab some white, and go ahead and put me a dot here and a dot here, and then just kind of fill in this dot here. All right, so now we're going to go back to that green that we've already used. We're using that same green we had before, and just kind of rinse your brush out. And I'm going to switch to a thinner brush, one of the liner brushes. I'm going to grab my green, and all I want to do is just kind of bring this over to where this bunny is going to hold it. So I'm just kind of bringing it in. And the bunny's just kind of holding the flower. All right, so we can have the placement of it here. And just bring it on down. And if you want to have a little bit of a darker green, you can. I'm just going to stick to this one for now. And you can do the same thing over here with these. You can kind of bring them in. They're kind of on the same little flower petal here. Some simple leaves, nothing major. Can make it more whimsical, but really just have fun with it. We're going to bring a leaf off of here and color that in. All right, now I'm going to grab just a little hint of Kelly green. Not much at all, but just a little hint of Kelly green to kind of mix in with my lime. Just to give it a little bit more oomph to it. And then we want this branch to kind of go behind it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that white and purple that I was doing and just kind of bring it right in front of it. That way it kind of looks like it's behind it. Okay, so what we want to do now is just we can take this kind of brush, our flat brush. You could actually even go back to the chip brush. And we're just going to use some of those greens. I'm just going to go back and forth with the 1-inch brush right here. And we're just going to like really kind of mess up the bottom to make it look like this bunny is sitting in the grass, okay? So we're just kind of grabbing it, bringing it. We're going to have it overlap some of the feet. So your bunny is just hanging out on a spring day in the grass. So here's where kind of like Bob Ross would say, you could get crazy. This is your world. You can put as much on there as you want. If you're good at a palette knife, this is where you might want to do palette knife stuff here. Just however you want to kind of make this bunny feel like he's sitting in the grass. You can go back and forth between the greens. All right, and then what we'll do is we'll go back to our little brush like this and go back to our purple. And this is really fun. All you're going to do is just grab it and just kind of place one line here. And then you're going to start just going back and forth. And you're just making these little wildflowers. It's kind of some wildflowers sitting in this little scene. So as you add them on there, again, I'm just using this little brush. Now I can go in with my white, just almost like I'm on top of them. And you can see my brush is pretty messy. I'm not really worried about rinsing it. Just kind of placing just some wildflower. And you can go crazy. You could do as many or as little as you want. All right, now I'm going to take some of the yellow, the cadmium yellow. And we're going to get some centers of the flowers with this yellow. And you don't need much at all. I'm just going to use a liner brush. Just going to dab it in there. See how you just kind of grab it and dab it. Not much at all. And if you'd like, you can take the same little yellow and just put some in these flowers that you already kind of made here too. Oh, I can't wait to see how y'all's turn out. Because this is the coolest part about this is you can kind of take this idea. You can do it exact if you want, or you can kind of go crazy and have some fun with it. Then just take a little bit of that greenish color and just put it right below there. I'm going with a little bit of the Kelly green too. All right. Now I can take a little bit of my white and my purple that I got going on and do that same kind of technique that I did above there. All right, so let's go ahead and paint this bunny's nose. So you can paint the bunny's nose any color you want. I'm going to use a royal fuchsia, but you could, again, you could take it and mute it if you wanted the color to be a little bit of a lighter color or a lighter shade. But I'm going to go ahead and use this royal fuchsia because I love a bunny with a really, really cute pink nose. And that is a pretty intense nose. So if you want to add a little bit of white, you can, just to mute it down a little bit. But I kind of like it pretty intense, actually. All right. And so while we have the pink out, what I want you to do is wipe most of it off. And then we're just going to add in some rosy cheeks. So with that, we're going to have to go to pink and white. And then we might need to use our finger and just kind of blend it. There we go. All right, so now we have some pink cheeks. And we're going to go ahead and fill in his eyes with solid black first. And we got to name them. So be thinking of what you want to name your bunny. And as you're doing this as an event, I would ask your guests if they've named them. Even if it's an adult party or a kids party, I think it's still really fun whenever you can bring some just joy and fun conversation. So they may start to see the bunny and name it and start to think of like, oh, you know, really start to attach to it and have even a more fun time painting it. All right, so once you do that, now we can add little eyelashes. So this part, whenever you take your brush, make sure they pull. If you have people that are nervous, this is where you could bring Posca pins. But all you're doing is just grabbing from the edge, just right there at that bottom edge, just bringing over a couple of lines. So again, pull and twist, so there's a point. This is where you can bring over some Posca pens or some Sharpies, all of that good stuff will help. All right, so while we have the black out, let's go ahead and just do a little bit of lining. We're not going to get too crazy, but we're going to line parts of it. So like right there where the ear is going to be. We're going to add some whiskers here in a second. Anywhere where you have your flower and you want to add some kind of lines to it. You don't have to just outline everything, but anywhere you feel like you might want to add some emphasis, you can. Again, this is another place where if your guests are nervous, they could do Posca pins or something like that. Or Sharpies are always good. Need to add a little bit of blue back. And if you make a mistake like I just did, remember, it's just paint. You can go right on top of it. I can go back to my taupe and my white and just kind of add it right there. No big deal. All right, so let's add a few more little black lines, and then we're going to add some hair up there too. We're going to add a little bit of bunny hair. Okay, now we're going to go to our white paint. And this is where anywhere on the bunny that you wanted maybe a little bit more hair start coming out right here. You can have him have some cute little hair. And anywhere where you may have put too much taupe and you just wanted to have a little bit of a softer look. You can make the ears look like they're a little fluffy. Oh, if you accidentally get pink in it, remember, you can always go back over stuff with other paints. I'm just correcting my mistake. Ignore this part, y'all. Just ignore this. I need to go to a more cleaner brush real quick. All right, so you're just grabbing your white with your thin brush. This is where if you want any more, where it looks like maybe his His ears are a little fluffy. All right, then we'll add a little dab of white on his nose. And then just some white in his eyes. Almost like a same shape kind of triangle looking thing. And anywhere on the flowers, you want to add just little hints of white. If they feel like anything needs any more, just go for it. And then if you want to just lightly kind of just grab in some of the grass. Just kind of grabbing it and pulling it anywhere in the leaves that you want to add. So it's just kind of your time to add any white areas that you think. And then what I want you to do is either have, like I said, Sharpies or Posca pens, or grab a very thin brush, pull and twist. And this is where you just want to bring those whiskers out. So I usually have my pinky just kind of holding place. You can do about 3 or 4. And so for painters who are doing this as kind of like their last step, I would probably go ahead and invest in some Sharpies or Posca pens, because we can usually do this and not totally freak out. But even us who paint a lot, sometimes we can be like, oh, we just messed it up, or a little nervous if we do it wrong. All right, so there is your bunny. You can make, like I said, more muted colors if you want. If you didn't want as much green on there, like seriously, it's as easy as just grabbing stuff and just going right on top of it and changing it up as you wish. But you can do totally more muted colors if you want. You could do palette knife if you want. You could do different shades. I mean, the sky's the limit. So I just wanted to share this with you, and hopefully it brings you lots and lots of parties, lots of success. And feel free to use it just as is with all the colors that I used, or feel free to spice it up. And I also highly recommend that y'all use this for kids parties and adult parties. I think it would work great for both. All right, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.